You are not awake, you are dreaming. Every thought, every urge, every trembling hope is a shadow cast by a will that does not care for your comfort, does not bend to your desire, does not pause to grant you peace. Look around. Every street, every face, every whisper of laughter is a mirror reflecting the same emptiness you carry inside. Desire drives you, desire chains you. Desire whispers that fulfillment is near, and yet, when you grasp for it, the object dissolves like mist through trembling fingers. Life is a theater of dissatisfaction, each act rehearsed, each scene predetermined by forces older than memory. Pain is the only honest companion, yet you flee from it, as though evading your own shadow could grant you truth. Consider your waking hours. How many are spent in the futile pursuit of more wealth, more recognition, more fleeting affection, while the mind quietly collapses under the weight of its own unquenched hunger? Every human act, every gesture of ambition, every passionate embrace is nothing but a murmur of the blind will, echoing into the void. You are awake enough to see, yet too entangled to break the chains. Look inward. There is a chamber within you, and within that chamber, a solitary mind thrums with unrelenting questions. You have no escape. Awareness is not liberation. Consciousness is the witness to your own captivity. And yet, within this recognition, there is a strange relief. To see the mechanics of your suffering is to glimpse the architecture of life itself, unadorned, unyielding, unkind. Suffering is not a misfortune. It is the measure of your life. It is the lens through which the will, raw and blind, becomes visible. To deny suffering is to deny reality. To embrace it, even just a sliver of it, is to hold a shard of truth that glimmers in the dark. Pain illuminates what comfort cannot reach, and so you stand at the edge, trembling and yet attentive, because for the first time, perhaps, you see, desire is insatiable. Fulfillment is an illusion. Every moment of satisfaction is borrowed, temporary, a trick played by the indifferent hand of existence. You reach for one joy and the next eludes you. You crave another, and still the cycle spins relentlessly. One begins to understand that human life is less a series of events and more a perpetual rehearsal for disappointment. One-liner. Every wish carries the seed of its own disillusionment. The mind recoils from this truth, because to recognize it fully is to stand alone. Isolation is not a punishment, it is the framework of consciousness. Alone, you confront the machinery of your own will, the blind engine that propels you toward illusions that can never satisfy. Alone, you see the exquisite cruelty of existence, not malevolent, not kind, merely indifferent. Desire does not pose. It does not reason. It does not forgive. It is a blind, relentless pulse beneath your ribs, whispering that nothing is enough, that satisfaction is a dream always just beyond reach. You grasp at it with trembling hands, and still it slips through like smoke, leaving only the echo of yearning in its wake. Every ambition you nurse, every secret hope you cradle in the hollow of your chest, is already tainted by the certainty of its own collapse. Consider the life you call ordinary, the routine that lulls you into a false peace. You rise, you toil, you consume, you sleep, and in the quiet hours between, the mind stirs with its private unrest. The same questions return, unbidden. Am I enough? Will it ever be enough? These are not errors. These are the language of the will itself, speaking through the flesh, reminding you that all is movement, all is unsated. Pain is your only honest companion. It will not flatter, it will not deceive. It will not pretend that your victories matter, that your moments of delight are anything more than fleeting sparks. Yet in this recognition, in this cruel clarity, there is a strange, cold comfort. To feel the raw edges of existence is to know it as it truly is, not as the mind wishes it to be, but as it stubbornly, inexorably is. You have constructed a life atop illusions. Society, culture, expectation, they layer over your suffering like velvet, softening the impact, dulling the sharp truths of being, yet scratch the surface, and the emptiness waits beneath. You are not free. You are bound to the rhythms of a world that neither notices you nor cares. The applause, the honors, the small triumphs, they are all mirrors, reflecting a self that exists only as a shadow, an echo of the will. The will is insatiable. Every achievement, every conquest, every possession is immediately swallowed by the hunger that drives you. You imagine that to possess more is to feel whole. You imagine that to be admired is to feel seen. You imagine that to escape pain is to escape truth. But these imaginings are the dream insisting upon itself. One-liner, the more you clutch, the further it flees. Look around. The faces in the streets, the words in newspapers, the images on screens, all are entangled with the same futility. Humans are puppets of their own endless desires. They smile, they fight, they love, they betray, they mourn, and beneath it all, the will moves silently, indifferent to triumph, indifferent to grief. Every human act is a tremor in the dark, and yet it is all that you will ever know. Isolation is your inheritance, not punishment, but condition. Within your mind, in the quiet hours, when the noise fades, you confront yourself. You confront the truth of your own drive, the unbroken pulse of longing, the inevitability of disappointment. There is no escape from yourself. There is no sanctuary from the relentless motion of the will. And yet, here, in this solitude, the mind begins to see with clarity that the crowd, the multitude, the society, it is no different. All are ensnared, all are dreaming, all are suffering in ways invisible to the casual eye. There is beauty in this revelation, not in hope, not in consolation, not in achievement. Beauty in recognition, beauty in seeing the structure of existence laid bare, the patterns of longing, of craving, of fleeting joy, of inevitable disappointment. They form a lattice, delicate and unyielding, that binds the human heart. To see it is to awaken not from life, for that is impossible, but from the illusions that make life bearable, that make suffering tolerable, that make the endless repetition seem meaningful. Normality is a velvet cage. The streets, the homes, the workplaces, the schools, they hum with a soft, numbing rhythm, convincing you that life is steady, reliable, safe. And yet, every glance, every interaction, every quiet moment reminds you of the same truth. Nothing is stable, nothing lasts, nothing grants peace. One-liner, the ordinary is a gilded cell and you are already imprisoned. Every desire you nurture is already a wound. Every hope you cherish is already a shadow. You reach toward people, toward objects, toward fleeting moments of ecstasy, and yet the will moves beneath, indifferent, insatiable. Life does not correct itself, does not pause to reward you, does not care that you suffer in longing. It simply unfolds. You are a single thread in a tapestry too vast to comprehend, and yet your thread carries its own pulse of pain, its own echo of the eternal hunger. And here, in the middle of the dream, you pause, not to escape, not to change the rhythm, not to clutch at hope, but to see, to witness the machinery of desire, the inevitability of frustration, the blind cruelty of the will, and to breathe, not relief, not comfort, but recognition. This is the strange solace the philosopher of shadows offers. Clarity without illusion, honesty without consolation, sight without escape. Society promises comfort. Society promises meaning. Society promises escape from the relentless pulse of desire. And yet, the promise is a lie. Every institution, every custom, every polished phrase of reassurance is designed not to liberate, but to distract, to fill the emptiness with spectacle, to veil the nakedness of existence with the garb of civilization. Look at the streets. They gleam with advertisements, messages, curated images of lives that seem abundant, fulfilled, perfect. And you, wandering through, feel both desire and inadequacy. Every display, every whisper, every broadcast reminds you of what you lack, even as you possess what is already insufficient. One-liner, the more the world shows you, the more it hollows you. The masks we wear in public are subtle chains. Friendships, love, and social rituals are performances. You learn to nod, to smile, to laugh at jokes you do not find funny, to admire accomplishments that do not impress you. And all the while, your mind whispers that none of this matters. that beneath the velvet surface lies the same endless craving, the same inevitable disappointment. Progress is a religion. Civilization marches forward, as if every invention, every structure, every achievement could redeem human suffering. And yet, despite every technological marvel, despite every philosophical treatise, despite the vast accumulation of knowledge, the pulse of desire remains unchanged. Men and women invent to distract themselves, to evade the suffocating presence of their own will. One-liner: advancement changes the scenery, not the heart. Comparison gnaws at the edges of the mind. Happiness, they tell you, is attainable, it is measurable, it is something to win, something to grasp. And yet, always, someone has more, someone shines brighter, someone moves faster through the halls of illusion. And your heart, stubborn and fragile, measures itself in these shadows, feeding the quiet, corrosive ache of envy. Even love, the supposed sanctuary, is caught in the machinery of illusion. You seek affection, companionship, passion, recognition. You believe it will fill the hollow, and yet it too is a mirror, reflecting only the desires you carry within yourself. People do not see you. They see only the version of yourself you present, the curated self that conforms to expectation, that entertains, that pleases, that convinces others of its worth. One-liner: you are loved for the shadow you cast, not for the fire you carry. The crowd moves as if synchronized, each life a single note in a vast, indifferent symphony. Each person smiles, complains, struggles, celebrates, but beneath it all, the blind will pulses. Desire drives every action, every ambition, every conversation. The machinery of culture is a mirror hall, reflecting infinite illusions back at itself. You glimpse your own reflection and wonder, briefly, if you are awake or merely a spectator in a dream already in motion. Every law, every moral dictum, every declaration of right and wrong is but a surface attempt to impose order upon chaos. And yet chaos remains, beneath, eternal, silent, indifferent. You obey, not because it matters, but because disobedience does not alter the machinery. You conform, not because society is just, but because resistance is futile. One-liner: the rules exist to give the dream its pattern, not to grant you freedom. Consumerism feeds the illusion of sufficiency. Possessions, achievements, appearances, they promise the quieting of desire, the end of dissatisfaction. And yet, each acquisition is merely a bandage, a fleeting distraction, a momentary tremor of satisfaction that disappears into the gnawing, insatiable pulse beneath. You buy, you consume, you admire, you compare, and still the ache persists, unaltered, unyielding. Even knowledge does not free. You read, you think, you learn, you ponder, but understanding does not alter the will. Philosophy illuminates, exposes, reveals, but it does not console. Science describes, measures, predicts, but it does not soften the relentless rhythm of desire. One-liner: to know the dream is not to awaken from it, and yet there is a strange relief in seeing clearly. To recognize the machinery of illusion is not to despair, but to breathe in the strange clarity that comes from truth, even if truth is cold and indifferent. Here, in the midst of distraction, comparison, and deception, you pause, not to hope, not to console yourself, not to dream of escape, but to see, to witness without illusion. Culture is a mirror, society a theater, civilization a velvet cage. All of it reflects the same pattern: desire unquenched, suffering unavoided, the blind will moving beneath the surface. And within this recognition lies a small, honest respite, not of comfort, not of happiness, not of liberation, but of sight. You see the world for what it is, and that seeing is, in its own way, a release. Breathe. Do not clutch. Do not resist. Do not seek comfort. Just see. For a moment, the machinery quiets. The endless parade of desire pauses, if only briefly. The crowd fades into the periphery. The glare of advertisements dissolves. The whispers of comparison retreat. And you alone, solitary, unprotected, witness the raw pulse of life. Nothing changes. Nothing softens, nothing absolves. Yet, in this seeing, there is a release, a moment of honesty untainted by illusion. Desire for a heartbeat rests. The mind's endless chatter, the tallying of what is lacking, the frantic pursuit of what is imagined as necessary falls silent. Pain does not vanish. It does not lessen. It merely becomes recognizable, tangible, something to observe without panic. To name it, to hold it in thought without pretending it could vanish, is to breathe freely for the first time in years. One-liner, to see the wound is not to heal it, but to no longer bleed blindly. Consider the fleeting nature of your attachments. Every person, every object, every belief you cling to is impermanent. The world offers them to you like candles in the wind, bright, warm, and inevitably extinguished. And yet, in their impermanence, there is clarity. To love the candle is to understand its fragility. To desire the candle is to acknowledge the futility of possession, and in that acknowledgement, the heart ceases its frantic pounding and simply observes. Even in the illusions of culture, there are moments of revelation. You notice the pattern, the rhythm, the predictable pulse beneath the veneer. Advertising, social expectation, ritual, etiquette, all are mirrors. And yet, in seeing them clearly, you no longer stumble. You are not seduced. You are not lost. You are awake within the dream, walking among phantoms with open eyes, fully aware of their hollowness. Pause. Listen to the subtle rhythm of the will. It moves beneath the surface, indifferent, blind, unrelenting, and still, you see it. You do not flee. You do not resist. You merely observe. The machinery of desire, the inevitability of frustration, the illusions of society, they exist, and so do you. Observation, unadorned and unflinching, becomes your solace. Moments like this are rare. They are not permanent. They do not grant happiness. They do not remove suffering, but they grant lucidity. And lucidity is a kind of freedom, not the freedom of triumph, not the freedom of fulfillment, not the freedom of escape, but the freedom of recognition. One-liner. To know the dream is not to awaken from it, but to walk through it with eyes unclouded. Notice the beauty hidden in despair, the clarity hidden in pain, the stillness hidden in ceaseless motion. These release points are not hope, they are honesty. They are the rare intervals in which the mind may rest without illusion. The soul may breathe without denial. Each moment is fleeting, fragile, and luminous because it is utterly unsanctioned by comfort, utterly unadorned by consolation. Let your gaze linger on the ordinary. The mundane carries the same truths as the extraordinary. The whisper of a leaf in the wind, the distant murmur of the city, the quiet ache of a remembered longing, all are reflections of the same eternal pulse. One-liner. The small, unnoticed details betray the vastness of your own condition. In these breaths of clarity, the paradox emerges. To see is to endure, and to endure is to see. There is no escape. There is no triumph. There is only observation, honesty, and recognition. And within this recognition lies a strange, cold comfort, the understanding that nothing could have been otherwise, that the machinery of desire, the prison of will, the illusions of society, they are the only reality there is. You stand at the edge, not of a cliff, not of a city street, but at the edge of comprehension itself. The dream stretches infinitely before you, unbroken, indifferent. You see it now, the machinery of desire, the blind pulse of will, the illusions of culture, society, expectation. They do not falter, they do not yield. And yet, in this seeing, there is a final breath of clarity. There is no redemption here, no victory, no escape. Every hope you once nurtured is a candle long extinguished. Every ambition, a shadow fading in the unforgiving light of truth. And still you breathe. The human heart is a ceaseless engine of longing, and the mind, a solitary witness. Pain, desire, frustration, they are not enemies. They are the contours of life itself, revealed. One-liner. To see the dream is not to leave it, but to live awake within it. Love, achievement, recognition, they exist. Not to console, not to fulfill, but to remind you of the impermanence of all things. The ephemeral beauty of passing moments. The delicate lattice of suffering that holds the world in place. You have walked through the dream. You have seen its machinery. You have recognized the illusions of society and the endless hunger of desire. And now, at the final moment, you surrender not in defeat, but in clarity. Surrender to what is. Surrender to the unalterable. Surrender to the ceaseless pulse beneath the surface, the invisible engine that drives all. One-liner: to accept is not to rejoice. To accept is to breathe, even amid the storm. The world continues. The streets hum, the crowds move, the will pulses. Nothing has changed, and yet everything has changed. Because you see, and seeing is a kind of liberation, strange, cold, uncomforted, but undeniably real. There is beauty in this surrender. Not the beauty of triumph, not the beauty of joy, but the beauty of clarity, the poetry of recognition, the stillness that follows honest vision. Life is a dream. You cannot wake from it. You cannot escape it. But you can walk within it with eyes unclouded, witnessing, breathing, seeing. One-liner: you do not conquer, you do not flee, you see, and that is enough. The dream stretches on, and so do you, lucid, awake within the impossibility, alone. Sehen, you walk through the streets, and every face is a mirror, not of themselves, but of you. Every laugh, every sigh, every glance, reflections of your own unfulfilled longing. You see it in the child clutching a toy, the man nodding politely at the world, the woman smiling at an unseen expectation. All are bound by the same invisible chain, the will that never rests, that never satisfies, that never pauses to grant peace. Desire is a tide that never recedes. It lifts you briefly, promising the illusion of ascent, and then drops you into the same familiar depth. You chase accomplishment, recognition, affection, comfort, each a shadow-promising substance, and yet, when you seize it, it dissolves. Each triumph is already hollow, each possession already transient. One-liner: every grasp contains the seed of its own loss. Consider intimacy, the tender illusion of connection. You reach toward another, hoping to touch understanding, to feel mirrored, to find solace in shared breath. But they too are prisoners, carrying their own will, their own insatiable desire, their own silent despair. No one truly sees, no one truly grasps, and even if they did, what would it matter? Recognition cannot alter the mechanics of existence, only illuminate them briefly. Aloneness is not absence, it is presence. The mind alone, the heart alone, the will alone, moving within its cage. And yet, in this solitude, there are glimmers of honesty. The illusions recede slightly. The machinery hums, but you observe it without panic, without clinging. You acknowledge, all is motion, all is endless, all is inevitable. Moments of clarity arrive like shards of glass. They cut, they illuminate, they make the familiar world unrecognizable in its rawness. You notice the subtleties, the slight tremor in a voice, the fleeting shadow of despair in laughter, the impermanence of every gesture. You see, and seeing is not relief, it is recognition. One-liner: to observe is to witness the truth, not to change it. The ordinary world, the daily motions, reveal their subtle tyranny. Coffee cups, newspapers, doors, office chairs, they all participate in the machinery, conduits of distraction, instruments of fleeting satisfaction. You move through them mechanically, like the masses, but with a mind awake, piercing the veil. And this awareness is both heavy and liberating. Heavy because nothing softens. Liberating because you see what others do, not what they dare not see. Desire is not merely craving, it is expectation, projection, a relentless architect of disappointment. You want warmth, and the flame dies. You want love, and the hands slip away. You want achievement, and the shadow moves just out of reach. And yet, you continue. The will cannot be stilled, even when the mind sees its futility. One-liner: you are compelled, even when you understand the futility of motion. Humanity is a theater of repetition. Generations repeat the same gestures, the same misjudgments, the same striving. Empires rise and fall, cities burn and rebuild, technologies advance and decay, yet the pulse of desire remains unchanged. You, too, are caught in this infinite loop. You act, You dream, you suffer, you hope, and yet the machinery is indifferent to the individual. There is irony in suffering. You flee it, disguise it, medicate it, distract from it, and in every attempt to escape, you stumble into its deeper currents. One cannot outrun desire. One cannot outwit the will. To live is to participate, unwillingly or not, in the ceaseless oscillation between longing and disappointment. Yet there are small, almost imperceptible moments where the mind catches its breath. The quiet observation of a falling leaf, the distant laughter of strangers, the subtle patterns of clouds drifting across the sky. In these moments, the machinery pauses, not for mercy, not for kindness, but because it is seen. Recognition interrupts motion, briefly, as though the world itself is aware of your gaze. One-liner. Even the machine hesitates when observed without illusion. Time is a cruel companion. It moves, relentless, indifferent. Your memories cling to the past as though it were substance, and the future beckons with the same hollow promise. And yet, within the perception of this endless flux, you recognize the rhythm. Suffering, desire, illusion, disappointment, they are not mistakes. They are the structure of life. To resist is to suffer more. To accept is not to rejoice, but to see clearly. Look inward. You see the hidden contours of your own will, the silent pulses beneath thought, the machinery that compels your every act. You see the intricate lattice of craving that drives your relationships, your ambitions, your daily motions. And you see, too, the inevitability of frustration, the certainty of loss, the impermanence of every fleeting satisfaction. The world outside mirrors the world inside. Chaos, repetition, disappointment, illusion, they are everywhere and in everyone. No one is capis. No one is exempt. The misery and the machinery are universal and yet deeply personal, intimate, unavoidable. And so you pause again as the day wanes and the city hums around you. Not to hope, not to dream, not to cling, but to see. To witness the machinery, to observe desire, to hold suffering in your awareness without panic. This is the strange, cold clarity the philosopher of shadows grants. Release not through change, but through recognition. One-liner. To see the world clearly is to walk awake within the dream, untethered yet bound. Every encounter, every word, every gesture carries a duality, the promise of significance and the inevitability of disappointment. You navigate them carefully, not to avoid suffering, but to observe it fully. In this observation, the mind finds rhythm, the heart finds tempo, the will finds a mirror it cannot evade. And there, in the midst of unrelenting motion, you glimpse something rare, lucidity. Not happiness, not comfort, not triumph. Lucidity, a single line cuts through the fog. You do not escape the dream, you witness it. And in witnessing, there is a breath, not of hope, not of consolation, but of recognition. The machinery continues. Desire pulses, suffering endures, illusion persists. And yet, for this moment, you see clearly, and clarity itself is a fragile, luminous release.